Hey everybody, this is the Slightest Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Sabrina Spellman crossing over into Riverdale, or should I say Rivervale. So, it's been announced for about like a month or so that Sabrina is gonna cross over into Riverdale. Finally, like that's something people have been wanting to see for a very long time. Whether they're like a fan of the show or not, or like they used to be or whatever. I used to be a Riverdale fan in season one. It was actually a pretty cool season. And it was pretty solid, but it wasn't perfect. And when it came to Sabrina, I watched every episode. I don't particularly like the show. I like a couple of episodes. It wasn't what I expected it was gonna be. Like I knew it was gonna be dark. That's what I was hoping for. But it just felt weird. And then it turned out weird. And it was just weird. And so like then they killed it at the end of their season when Netflix decided to cancel the show. And so like, that was that. And then they said, oh, she's gonna appear in Riverdale. But then the question begged, how in the world is she alive? Because she died at the end of her season. Actually, not only did she die, both versions of her died. And so it just made people wonder. So because of that, I'm like, all right, fine. I'll watch this episode of Riverdale, even though I hate Riverdale now and stuff. And so when it was on Tuesday, I watched like the first 5, maybe 10 minutes. I'm all like, where's Sabrina at? And I'm just like, maybe I'm watching the wrong episode. So I turned it off. Then I got on Twitter. Then people talking about Sabrina Spellman has entered Riverdale. I'm like, oh man, I missed it. So then the next day I had to watch it on the app. And then so I'm watching again. I'm just like, where is she at? So I fast forward to the last 10 minutes of where she's at. And all she literally did was sit in a chair and talk, looked, smiled, and winked a couple of hundred times. And and then did one little spell. And that was it. I'm all like, really? It was basically just a cameo, like a 10-minute cameo? That's not really a crossover thing. I was expecting her to do something. And so I was very disappointed. But I will say this, okay, before I talk about Sabrina, I will say the episode was actually pretty interesting. I like how it was in 3 different time periods. Oh, by the way, okay, so this 5 or 6 episode event thing they're doing, it's not in Riverdale. It's in an alternate reality called Rivervale, where things are totally different, right? So different outtakes, different outcomes, stuff like that. And so it makes kind of sense because from what I've been hearing from people, so far magical stuff isn't really in Riverdale. Although sometimes they think it is, sometimes it's not. Might be aliens, might not. So I don't know. So putting the alternate reality makes sense. Plus, we saw Sabrina go to a couple of different realities in her last season. So the episode actually, like I said before, it was actually pretty cool. I like how they was in 3 different time eras, even though they really spent time in 2. We got to see what we assume was Cheryl's ancestors. And I remember seeing them thinking to myself, that's kind of interesting. Every female in her family line is like a lesbian, just like her. What a coinkydink. And then it turns out, oh wait, this is not even Cheryl. That's not even Poppy. It's Abigail the whole time. She's an immortal who just took on different personas and stuff. Okay, that makes sense. And she's like a witch and stuff. She was cursed. She was cursed by a warlock who basically is like this. Abigail was back in the Victorian era, and she met this woman who is the ancestor of that Topaz girl. And then so she fell in love with her, but then this man came and said her brother's dead and he wanted her to marry him. So then she marries him, but then she realized he's a killer and a bad person, so then she kills him with an axe. Just roll with it. It's Riverdale. Just roll with it. So he comes he's dying, but he's walking and talking, and he killed her lover and stuff like that. And it's all I curse you to never find love and blah 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 and stuff like that. And then he dies. So then she's Poppy, and when she's Poppy, she falls in love. Well, actually, she's kind of like a feminist who tells women what to do about their husbands, and the husbands don't like it. And then she falls in love with the Betty ancestor lady, and so then The husband finds out like, oh, you stay away from my wife, and the wife's all like, oh, maybe I made a mistake, blah blah. So then they arrest her and all this other stuff from influencing the women and trying to get with the women and stuff like that. And then she gives like the Betty woman like some poison to kill her husband. Look, it's Riverdale, just roll with it. And then she delivers her baby. So where was I? Oh yeah, so she gives her poison to kill her husband. Um, and then like so she's telling this story to like some like one of her students and stuff, and it's like an old lady's dying, and something about the transference of bodies, and then Sabrina comes in and stuff. Now I will say this. Even though it was an interesting episode, it's a pretty nice episode. It had lovely clothes, lovely visuals, and a lovely house. Once again, being Riverdale, I've seen that no matter what season it's in, the acting still has not gotten any better. Like, I'll give them credit. They try, but they're not trying hard enough. It's like, when it comes to them, they really need to take acting lessons. Like, they really, really do. Because the cast is hot. The cast is like very attractive, especially like, oh my god, these are some gorgeous like drop dead like sexy women and everything. But it's like their acting is so blah, you know, and it's just like like I said before, they try hard. They're just not trying hard enough. Because it's kind of like you're in three different time eras, mostly two. So you're in two different time eras, and yet your acting is the same in every time era. When you're in that Victorian style, your voice should sound different. When you're in the 60s, your voice should sound different. You should act different. Like for the most part, some of their facial expressions were pretty good. Like I give you that, but it's just it's their verbal acting. It's their voices. They're not doing nothing. They're not giving it no oomph. They're not acting like they're in a different time era. And they sound so flat when they talk. So Sabrina just shows up out of nowhere, and this is what don't make no sense. And I blame the showrunner, Roberto, because he's the showrunner for both Riverdale and that's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And Lord have mercy, he doing the reboot of Pretty Little Liars. God, he's gonna mess that up. I just know he is. So Sabrina tells Cheryl's student, who's really Abigail, that she's known her for centuries. Really? Okay, so it's never been established exactly what year Riverdale is in. It's never been established what year the Sabrina show in. It looks like the 1960s, but they have like laptops and smart devices and stuff. And so like it's never explained just how many years has passed since the Sabrina show ended. So it could very well be centuries, you know what I'm saying? But there's been crossovers with the characters in both shows. So it can't be that far along. So how in the world have she known what's the face for centuries? And she's literally was a teenager when she died and everything. That's the first continuity mistake they got. Lord Jesus, have mercy. Then, because there's never been no explanation that she's been over to Rivervale. Oh, that's another thing. This is another mistake. Rivervale is an alternate dimension. When did she ever go to Rivervale? When? Because she never been to actual Riverdale, and Rivervale is an alternate universe. So we know she was hopping around the universes during that time towards the end, but I think it was the other version of Sabrina that died early, so it wasn't her. So like that don't make no sense. So how did she get there? Like that's never been explained. That's the second continuity mistake. And now we get to the third continuity mistake. She explains how she's alive. She said that, and I quote, witches never die. They just transformed themselves. So that means she said she even told him she died and came back alive. So that means if she died and came back alive, then Nick must have came back alive. And that other version of Sabrina came back alive. But here's the problem. In the entire Sabrina show, it is shown when you kill a witch, boom, they dead. And that is that. They dead, and they not coming back alive unless you put them in that special garden thing, like Zelda used to do to Hilda, and make her come back alive and stuff like that. But yeah, when you die, you die. Cause if that's true and you just transformed, then why in the world has Sabrina's dad never came back alive and he was a warlock? Why? In season one towards the end, while all them dead witches that was like hung during like Salem times, how did they die and never come back alive? Um, what else? That one time, I think it was in season three, when Zelda end up getting like killed and everything, and like so she died, and Sabrina was trapped under like in the underworld, and she had to like reverse time to make everybody alive again. So if they just transformed, then how did all them people die and never came back alive? That doesn't explain nothing at all. So that's the biggest continuity. Seriously, Roberto has like continuities in his own creations. He just completely sidestepped everything that we've known about the Sabrina show just to please the fans and bring Sabrina back from the dead. And he couldn't even think of a logical, real reason why. This man needs to stop making TV shows. Seriously. That's the only reason why Sabrina is still back alive, because the fans want another season and the fans miss her and everything. They couldn't even come up with a logical solution as to how she came back alive, or why she crossed over to the multiverse, or how she's known what's her face. This doesn't make no sense whatsoever. This man should never be allowed to make anything. And I don't even want him to touch Pretty Little Liars, because I used to like that before the original showrunner crapped all over her own show. And he's going to crap over even more. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.